Today our topic is Indo-Pak relations after 1947. In August 1947, India achieved her freedom from the British colonial rule at the expense of bloody communal holocaust and partition. Two separate independent countries, India and Pakistan, were born. Since the emergence of the two neighboring countries, they got involved in bitter mutual hostilities. From the very beginning, they were at loggerheads, and several factors were there for the deteriorating Indo-Pak relationship. The nationalist leaders of India during the colonial era cherished the hope of liberating a united and integrated India, but their dream or hope did not come true due to some pressure of circumstances. Conflict of interest on the part of both Muslim League and Congress appeared to be a deterrent factor. Muslim League demanded Pakistan, and at first the Congress leaders wanted the independence of entire India and integrated united India, but ultimately circumstances compelled the Congress leaders to accede to the demands of Muhammad Ali Jinnah and accept the demands of the Pakistani leaders. Moreover, the Mountbatten Plan also clearly favored a division of the whole country into two countries, that is India and Pakistan. Immediately after the partition, hostilities broke out among the two countries, and for the first time Kashmir was the bone of contention. Here we are to spend a few lines on Kashmir. Kashmir was in fact a princely state ruled by the Dogra Rajput rulers. When India became independent in 1947 and partition of India took place, the Dogra Rajput ruler of Jammu and Kashmir, Maharaja Hari Singh, opted for an independent Kashmir. Hari Singh wanted that Kashmir should not be included either in India or in Pakistan, and according to this option, Jammu and Kashmir remained a independent country. But within 2 months of India's independence, a large number of militant tribals of northwestern frontier provinces of Pakistan invaded Jammu and Kashmir, and the invasion took place on 24th October 1947. Even before the attack, Hari Singh, the independent ruler of Jammu and Kashmir, faced a severe upsurge from the Muslim subject of Poonch. The government of India categorically alleged that the attack of the Pakistani tribals had been clearly encouraged by Pakistan, and Pakistan had full support behind the tribals of northwestern frontier provinces, and in fact the government of Pakistan also did not deny the allegation. The tribal invaders were led by the Pakistani commander Major General Akbar Khan. In the wake of this sudden and brutal attack, Maharaja Hari Singh lost his nerves and appealed for Indian help. Hari Singh sent his Prime Minister Meher Chand Mahajan to India, and a discussion took place between Meher Chand Mahajan and the first Indian Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru. As an aftermath of the discussion, an instrument of accession was signed on 26th October 1947, and the instrument of accession was signed between the governments of Jammu and Kashmir and the government of India. it was decided that Jammu and Kashmir would accept the Indian authority in some respects. In accordance with the document, that is the instrument of accession signed on 26 October 1947, the government of Jammu and Kashmir agreed to accept the Indian authority in 3 areas: 1. Defence, 2. External affairs, and 3. Communication. Immediately after signing of the document, the Indian Army reached Srinagar to tackle the devastating attack by the militant tribes of the northwestern frontier province of Pakistan, and thus an undeclared war broke out between India and Pakistan. As the war broke out, within few days, Nehru said that the future of Kashmir should be settled by the reference of the people of the region. That is, Nehru harped on the issue of plebiscite in Kashmir, but till today such a plebiscite did not take place. In January 1948, Nehru referred the Kashmir issue to the Security Council of the United Nations Organization. On 6 January 1948, the United Nations Commission for India and Pakistan, UNCIP, was formed. It was decided that United Nations Commission for India and Pakistan would be entrusted with the task of taking a or holding a plebiscite of the Kashmiri people, and the people of Kashmir would decide whether they want to remain independent or they want to go to India or to Pakistan. In August 1948, the UNCIP or United Nations Commission for India and Pakistan urged Pakistan to declare a ceasefire and insisted on India to withdraw most of the troops from Kashmir. The Commission also appealed to both the countries to sit for a negotiation and for a smooth conduct of plebiscite over Kashmir, but neither the governments nor the government of India, neither the government of Pakistan were actually or genuinely interested in the issue of plebiscite. In January 1949, being pressurized by the UNO, both India and Pakistan declared a ceasefire, but the plebiscite did never take place, as none of the countries showed any sincere interest for the plebiscite, and embittered relationship between the two countries continued, and Kashmir still remained a point of turmoil between the two countries. In 1954, Pakistan had its entry in the American orbit. So long, Pakistan was not in the camp either of Soviet Union or of United States of America, but in 1954, Pakistan decided to enter into the American orbit. Then it joined the South Asian Treaty Organization or SEATO and Central Treaty Organization or CENTO, and both were US supported Asian groupings. These groupings definitely supported Pakistani stance vis-a-vis against India. Taking advantage of the Cold War politics, India after 1957 began to take refuge in Soviet vetoes. When some of the countries would raise the issue of plebiscite in Kashmir, Soviet Russia would give a veto, and India government began to take refuge in the Soviet vetoes. So, hence entire thing remained unsolved and unresolved. In 1958, a military dictatorship was established in Pakistan under the leadership of Field Marshal Ayub Khan. In September 1960, Ayub Khan paid a visit in the Palam airport and met Jawaharlal Nehru, the Indian Prime Minister, and there was a Indus Water Treaty was signed between India and Pakistan. The situation began to become easier and the relationship began to be normal, but everything was an exercise in futility. In 1964, Jawaharlal Nehru died and he was succeeded by Lal Bahadur Shastri as the Indian Prime Minister. On 5th May 1964, the Pakistani Foreign Minister Zulfikar Ali Bhutto alleged that India had deliberately nurtured the Kashmir problem for the last 16 years. Bhutto further alleged that the Indian stand was the abuse of human rights of the Kashmiri people, and by hook or by crook India government wanted to grab Kashmir and wanted to establish its dominance over Kashmir. The government of India under Lal Bahadur Shastri strongly refuted the allegation. In August 1965, the Home Secretary of Kashmir, Mr. L.P. Singh, informed the Indian Prime Minister that there had been a large-scale infiltration from Pakistan to Kashmir. Not only Kashmir, in other parts of western India, particularly in Gujarat, there were large number of Pakistani infiltrators were there. The Indian Foreign Office condemned the Pakistani infiltration in strongest terms, but the Pakistani Prime Minister Zulfikar Ali Bhutto described the infiltrators as mujahids or liberators. As the bilateral relationship gradually grew worse, India declared war against Pakistan in September 1965, and then the Indo-Pak war started in full swing. The UNO put pressure on Ayub Khan and Lal Bahadur Shastri to declare a ceasefire, but nobody agreed. In fact, throughout September, the war went on in full swing. Particularly Lal Bahadur Shastri refused to declare a ceasefire. At that time, the UN Secretary General U Thant came to the subcontinent. He visited New Delhi and Rawalpindi, visited both India and Pakistan, and appealed to both the leaders, Shastri and Ayub Khan, to come to terms and to declare ceasefire. Lal Bahadur Shastri informed the UN Secretary General U Thant that India was ready to declare a ceasefire on the basis of 3 conditions. 1. Pakistan should take the onus of responsibility for starting the war. 2. All the Pak infiltrators should quit Kashmir as early as possible. And 3. Pakistan should assure India that such actions would not be repeated in future. But for the first time, Pakistan refused to accept. In fact, some Western superpowers, particularly Great Britain, had full support behind Pakistan, and the British government openly said that the Indo-Pak War of 1965 was the result of Indian aggression and aggression of the Indian Prime Minister, aggressive attitude of the Indian Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri, and said that Lal Bahadur Shastri should come to terms as early as possible, but Lal Bahadur Shastri disagreed. In this crucial juncture, the Soviet Union came forward to negotiate. The Soviet Prime Minister Kosygin met both Lal Bahadur Shastri and Ayub Khan and said that an amicable settlement may be made, and accordingly in January 1966 the Tashkent Declaration was made in presence of Kosygin, the Soviet Prime Minister. India agreed to return to Pakistan the occupied territories like Hajipur and Tithwal. Pakistan, on the other hand, agreed that for settling any dispute in future, it would never apply force and rely on UN Charter for an amicable solution of any dispute. And finally, it was seen that Tashkent Declaration in January 1966 had put an end to the Indo-Pak War of 1965, but within a few hours of the Tashkent Declaration, Lal Bahadur Shastri died of a heart attack. Then again some problems cropped up between the two countries in about 1970. There was a natural calamity in eastern part of Pakistan, and the residents of the eastern part of Pakistan were mainly Bengalis. They were very much vocal for their own Bengali language. There was natural calamity. Moreover, the Pakistani army, that is the army of the western part of Pakistan, West Pakistan, they made some brutal repression on the people of Bangladesh. There was a revolt of the Bangladeshis in about 1970-71, and Pakistan let loose terror like anything, and thousands of hundreds were Bengalis were killed by the Pakistani army, and ultimately the Pakistani army was so repressive that India government could not keep silent, take a neutral stand. At that time, Indian Prime Minister was Mrs. Indira Gandhi, and Mrs. Indira Gandhi then immediately intervened in favor of the Bangladesh freedom struggle leader Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, rather in favor of the Bengali interest of eastern Pakistan, and ultimately with the help of the India government in 1971, a new state called Bangladesh had its birth. And after the Bangladesh war, the Indo-Pak relationship remained bitter, but it was such a decisive victory in favor of India. For many years, Pakistan remained silent, and the creation of Bangladesh as a new nation was a halting point in the bitter Indo-Pak relationship. To sum up, in August 1947, India became an independent country. India earned her independence from the British colonial rule, but the independence came at the expense of bloody communal riots and partition. The entire India was partitioned into two countries, one India and another Pakistan. In fact, the partition was made on the basis of religion, when the Hindu majority areas came under the Indian Republic and the Muslim majority areas formed the new state of Pakistan. And here there was a role of British imperialists as well. They also made such a situation, and particularly the Mountbatten Plan accepted the partition on the basis of religion, that partition could not be avoided. The hope and desire or dream of bringing independence of integrated and unified India became an unreal issue, and the dream did never come true, and the partition of India became a reality. From the very beginning, the two neighboring countries were at loggerheads. They tried to maintain a very embittered relationship. In the beginning, Kashmir was the bone of contention, and the hostility started centering around Kashmir. When the tribal attacks from Pakistan disturbed the independent ruler of Kashmir, Maharaja Hori Singh wanted to accede to India, and there was an instrument of accession signed on 26th October 1947. But the war did not come to an end, and the war continued up to January 1949, when both India and Pakistan declared a ceasefire. The Pakistani army supported the tribals of Pakistan, and from the very beginning this was a very abnormal situation in the relationship between the two countries. Then in 1954, Pakistan entered into the American orbit, and thus pro-American groupings like CENTO and SEATO, Pakistan entered into such groupings. It was beneficial for Pakistan, and Pakistan took advantage of the groupings and to put pressure on India. India then had to take refuge to the Soviet vetoes in the Security Council of United Nations organizations, and the unusual and abnormal bitter relationship continued. In 1958, General Ayub Khan established a military dictatorship, and in 1960 there was an amicable alliance between India and Pakistan, the Indus Water Treaty. But in 1964, again the issue of Kashmir came on the surface. As the issue of Kashmir again came on the surface, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, the External Affairs Minister or Foreign Minister of Pakistan, alleged that India deliberately nurtured the Kashmir problem for its own narrow interest, and the Indian activities was that of violating rights of the people of Kashmir. India strongly refuted the views. Then there was a complaint came to the India government that a large number of Pakistani infiltrators were coming to India. By this time, Jawaharlal Nehru, the first Prime Minister of India, died in 1964, and new Indian Prime Minister was Lal Bahadur Shastri. When Lal Bahadur Shastri became the Prime Minister, he strongly condemned and denounced the issue of infiltrators. Shastri, as the Indian Prime Minister, stated that if the infiltrators were going to disturb the Indian territory, India will not sit idle. But Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, the Pakistani External Affairs Minister, the Pakistani Foreign Minister Bhutto, claimed that the infiltrators were nothing but mujahids or liberators. It was a shocking experience for India, and India declared war on Pakistan in early September 1965. The war continued for some time. The Secretary General of UNO, U Thant, put pressure on both the countries, but there was no solution. Ultimately, the Soviet Prime Minister Alexei Kosygin came forward, and at his initiative the Tashkent Declaration came, and ultimately and eventually the Indo-Pak War came to an end. Within the few hours of signing of the Tashkent Declaration, Lal Bahadur Shastri had died of a heart attack. After 5 or 6 years, there was another problem and fissure in the Indo-Pak relationship, and the residents of the eastern part of Pakistan were concerned with their language, Bengali language. They were also victim of natural calamity. More than that, the army of western part of Pakistan launched brutal attack on the people of Bangladesh. At this situation, in 1971, Indian government under the leadership of our Prime Minister Mrs. Indira Gandhi intervened, and another Indo-Pak war took place in 1971, and as the venture of government of India, Bangladesh came out independent, and in the entire subcontinent there were 3 independent countries. Earlier there was India and Pakistan alone. Now, in the eastern part of Pakistan, the emergence of another independent country called Bangladesh. Thank you.